Everyone needs some time alone, a quiet walk, a break from notifications, a weekend of peace. All of that can actually help you relax and reset. But being alone changes completely when it's not your choice, or when it slowly stretches from hours into days and weeks. Then it stops being me time and starts turning into something else, a slow, invisible experiment on your brain and body. And the results are much bigger than just feeling a little lonely. At the start, your brain treats sudden isolation like a possible threat. For most of human history, being in a group meant safety, food, and protection. Being separated often meant danger. Your nervous system still carries that old rule, even if you are just sitting in your room with Wi-Fi and snacks. So when social contact disappears, stress hormones like cortisol can rise. Your heart might beat faster, your muscles stay slightly tense, and you feel oddly restless or uneasy without knowing exactly why. It doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but inside, your body has quietly flipped into alert mode. Very quickly, your mind also begins to change. Normally, conversations, routines, and random daily interactions act like anchors that hold your thoughts close to reality. Psychologists sometimes call this reality checking. You constantly compare your ideas with other people's reactions. When you lose that sounding board, your inner voice has no competition. Small worries can grow into big fears because no one is there to say, "Relax, it's fine." Your thoughts may start looping, replaying old mistakes, overthinking messages, or imagining worst-case scenarios. In extreme isolation, some people even begin to hear voices, see things that aren't there, or become convinced that others are plotting against them, even when nobody is around. Inside the brain, the hardware is shifting too. The areas that manage fear and emotion, especially parts of the limbic system, can become more sensitive and trigger-happy. They fire easily, as if the world is constantly dangerous. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the region that helps you focus, plan, control impulses, and make moral decisions, may become less active, and over very long periods of isolation, can even shrink. That changes the whole balance of your mind. Instead of calm, logical responses, the emotional part of the brain starts driving the car. Someone who has been deeply isolated for a long time can become more impulsive, more irritable, and less able to think clearly when stressed. The effects don't stop in the head. Isolation often scrambles your body clock. Without regular social routines, going out, meeting people, following schedules, days can blend into each other. You might stay up too late, sleep at odd times, or lie awake with racing thoughts. Poor sleep then makes mood swings, memory problems, and health issues worse. Many isolated people report headaches, stomach trouble, strange body pains, or changes in appetite and weight. Over months and years, long-term loneliness is linked to higher blood pressure, a weaker immune system, and a greater risk of heart disease, as if the body has quietly decided it is living under permanent emergency conditions. One of the most extreme examples of enforced isolation is solitary confinement in prisons. In many places, people are kept alone in small cells for 22 or 23 hours a day, sometimes for months or even years. They eat, sleep, and think alone in a space not much bigger than a bathroom. The psychological effects are severe. People lose track of time, become hypersensitive to noise or light, suffer panic attacks, or emotionally shut down. When they finally leave isolation, many struggle with basic situations like standing in a queue, talking to strangers, or sitting in a crowded room. The experience can leave long-lasting scars similar to post-traumatic stress, and plenty of human rights groups argue that this level of isolation is a form of psychological torture, not a path to rehabilitation. But isolation isn't only a prison issue. In normal life, it can creep in more quietly, working from home for months, living far from friends, or slipping into a routine where all interaction is online and shallow. Liking solitude doesn't mean you are broken, and not everyone who spends a lot of time alone will develop extreme symptoms. The real risk appears when meaningful connection disappears almost completely. The human brain was built to be part of a network, not an island. Even simple things, a short chat, shared laughter, sitting next to someone, a regular call, send powerful signals. You belong. You're not alone. You're safe. The hopeful part is that the brain can heal. Just as isolation slowly pushes the mind towards stress and imbalance, connection can slowly pull it back. Reaching out to others, joining groups, helping someone, or even starting with small everyday conversations can begin to reverse some of the damage. Your brain responds to contact with real people by releasing chemicals that reduce stress and strengthen the circuits for empathy, self-control, and clear thinking. Solitude in small, chosen doses can be healthy, but complete and prolonged isolation quietly rewrites how the brain works. And almost always, it writes a story where life feels harder, darker, and more confusing than it needs to be.